Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Governor John Carney. Welcome to our Facebook Live as we talk about a very important program to help homeowners and renters in our state that have experienced and are experiencing difficulty paying their mortgage or paying their rent. We, as everyone knows, are in an unprecedented time in our state and country with the onset of COVID-19 virus back 5 months ago here in Delaware. We've been fighting to flatten that curve. We've reached our peak at the end of April, and we've been getting healthier as a community since. It's had a significant impact on homeowners, on renters, on workers, on businesses, as we had to order stay-at-home orders and close businesses down for a period of time, sending lots of folks out of work. Part of our effort has been a concerted effort by so many to assist those who've been unemployed, those who are not working the hours that they did before and don't have the resources to either pay their mortgage or to pay their rent. We've had several emergency orders which have stopped evictions and foreclosures, and we've had great cooperation from the private sector in each of those. Back in March, with the leadership of Anas Bonati and the Delaware Housing Authority, with the leadership of the Small Business Division of the Department of State, and with the assistance of Newcastle County, we started a program to assist, one of the first in the country, to assist renters so that they can stay in their rental units and while we're not able to pay the rent. And I want to thank Anas for that. Today we're going to be announcing the recapitalization, additional funding, if you will, for two important housing assistance programs: a DMAP, which is a program to assist homeowners with their mortgages. It's a program that started actually many years ago when I was Lieutenant Governor back in 2007, and we had the mortgage foreclosure crisis here in Delaware and in states across the country. That was a very important and successful program to help keep people in their homes. And in addition, the FMAP program, which is a housing assistance program mostly targeted towards renters. And so we'll have, and are announcing today with the help of Newcastle County, you'll hear from the county executive in a minute, $20 million of CARE funding from the state's allotment and $20 million from Newcastle County's allotment to recapitalize these two programs and to make assistance available to renters and to mortgage to homeowners who can't afford right now because of their employment situation to pay those amounts. We know it's incredibly important now because those additional federal benefits expired at the end of July, and so we have hundreds, if not thousands, of Delawareans that will be facing these very significant financial challenges. So I want to thank Anas for his leadership. I'm going to turn it over to him in a minute to talk a little bit about the details. I want to introduce Matt Meyer, our county executive, who you're going to hear from in a minute, and thank him for his participation with resources. I want to thank Representative Kendra Johnson, who's the chair of the Housing and Community Affairs Committee in the House, and Senator Tizzy Lockman, an advocate for housing programs and a leader in the Senate. And then Paul Calistro, who's he's the champion of all, working on so many fronts to help those in needs, mostly on the west side of the city of Wilmington, but across our state. Whenever I call, he answers, he picks up the phone still. He's chairing our committee on volunteerism and doing a great job with that. So Anas, why don't you help explain what we're doing today? And again, thank you to you and your staff and our folks at the Division of Small Business for your guidance and your help with these important programs to assist Delawareans.
Well, thank you, Governor. Good afternoon, everyone. As the Governor mentioned, we are launching a great initiative here with $40 million worth of assistance, with $20 million from CARES funding coming through the states, to DSHA and $20 million from our partner at Newcastle County, again from CARES Act coming to DSHA as well. So the programs that the governor mentioned, which are the DMAP and the Dhab, are up to $5,000 assistance. And my job today is to tell you the what, how, which is getting to the details so people can go out with this information, and if it fits their circumstances, can apply as early as later on today through our portal, through our website, destatehousing.com. So let's start with Dhab. So the Dhab is the Delaware Housing Assistance Program. So this program started, and as the governor mentioned, we were the first state to launch a COVID-19 related rental assistance back in March 26th. And I want to thank everybody who has helped us with that start, which was literally within 3 days from the idea to starting a program. I want to thank our nonprofits. I want to thank the 3 counties and the Federal Home Loan Bank of Pittsburgh, who were able to raise $5.7 million within days. So that program was really timely because it bridged that gap between the emergency shutdown of some of the sectors and the federal assistance through unemployment and other services. So within the 3-4 weeks, we were able to fill that gap with that rental assistance. It was overwhelming, and we had to put the program on hold mainly because of the funding. So what happened now with the $40 million is we are reopening the program. We are making it a little bit more streamlined, easy to use. So it's $5,000 assistance for rentals. Who qualifies? Anybody who is a resident of the state of Delaware. There is an income guidelines, and if you fit the income guidelines, you can work with your landlord to submit an application through our online portal. And there is actually a video within our website that will show you, walk you through the steps, tutorial on the steps to apply. The big question is, when can we apply? It is should be up today after this press conference, and folks can connect and go to the application online. So that's on the rental side. On the mortgage side, which is the DMAP, the Delaware Mortgage Assistance Program. So this is a program that has been in place for many years. However, we took that frame and we tweaked it a little bit to fit the current circumstances. So the program, again, is up to $5,000 in mortgage assistance. Anyone who fits the income guidelines could qualify. We ask folks to reach to our nonprofit housing counselors. And there is a list on our website on the State Housing. You can call, get an appointment. It's free of charge. There is no fee for it. And the housing counselor, in addition to helping you navigate the process and negotiate with your servicer or lender, they will help you submit an application to DSHA. Both programs will not send assistance directly to the applicants. So no tenants, no mortgage holder will get the assistance. It will either go to the landlord or to the servicer, to the bank. We will ask for the information and the balances directly from either your landlord or your servicer, and the checks will be sent or wired to your landlord and your servicer. So as the governor mentioned, we were one of the first states, and we could have not done it without our counties, and specifically with our Newcastle County partners, Matt Meyer and his staff, Marcus and Carey, who when we called them trying to figure out this funding need, they were quick to devote $500,000 to help us start the program and bridge that gap early on. So I want to introduce Matt to share his thoughts, and I'm sure he will expand on the county role and thank his staff, as I have worked with many of them, and I'm very grateful to their efforts. Matt?
Yeah, thank you so much, Director Bonadi, and of course, Governor Carney, for your leadership today. No one should lose their home. No one should be thrown out on the street due to the inability to pay their rent or mortgage during a public health emergency. I know, Governor, you believe that to your core, and your leadership has shown that, as Anas mentioned, starting back on March 26th, when we were the first state in the country to set up a rental assistance program. And we thank you for your leadership here. Since day one of the COVID-19 pandemic back in mid-March, the county government here in Newcastle County is really focused on protecting our most vulnerable residents. As Director Ben-Adi mentioned, even before there was anything called the CARES Act, before there was any federal funding, we committed $500,000 from our reserve fund to partner with the state's great Dhab program to make sure there was rental assistance. 6,000 applicants applied within the first 3 weeks there. The program was, I think it's fair to say, overwhelmed, and it's really impressive leadership. When we regroup, we recognize a good program that had a shortfall of funds, and we come together from different governments and we say, how do we expand this program to benefit our residents? This is a huge benefit, and it enables us to get resources to the people of our county with minimal administrative expense, because quite frankly, DSHA, the State Housing Authority, has years of experience doing this. And so it enables us to put more and more of the taxpayers' money to work for this emergency funding. I want to recognize Senator Coons and Senator Carper, as well as Representative Blunt Rochester. All of the $40 million we're announcing today, both the state's funds and the county's funds, come from the federal CARES Act. We know they continue to work hard even today to make sure that the state budget and local budgets are shored up across our state. And without their tremendous advocacy, I'm not sure we would be here today. I also wanted to call out particularly Senator Lockman and Marcus Henry. Senator Lockman, who's been a housing and education advocate for years, long before she even ran for office, was also the co-chair of our county committee and our task force to address the epidemic and to figure out how to spend our CARES Act fund. And Marcus Henry as co-chair and Senator Lockman as co-chair came up with priorities for protecting the most vulnerable that were very similar to your priorities, Governor Carney. And so when we looked at it last week, when we met with your team, Governor Carney, we heard about this plan. We said, why don't we pool our resources together? And I'm thankful again for your leadership, for Director Ben-Adi, Representative Johnson, and Senator Lockman, for really creating a program that the county could jump on board with that creates additional assistance to the people of the county and ultimately, hopefully, all residents in the state. We're looking out for those in the most desperate straits in this really hard time. And I'm proud that $20 million of our CARES Act funding will go to support these programs that will continue to enable so many families to have a place to call home. Now, I'm not sure we'd be here today without the years of dedication, hard work, and creative leadership of Paul Calistro, who's the executive director of West End Neighborhood House on the west end of Wilmington. But everybody knows his impact and his resources and his assistance goes far beyond the west side of Wilmington. He was one of the first calls I made after the pandemic hit. He's always looking out for the most vulnerable among us. He's already supported not only thousands of Delawareans in desperate straits in this crisis, but also hundreds of small businesses. So thank you, Paul, for being here today.
Thank you, County Exec Meyer, and thank you, Governor Carney, for your leadership. I was talking to a friend of mine in another state who does the kind of work we do, and they're still trying to figure out what to do. When our state got together, our counties and our state made a decision in a week, had 9 not-for-profits up and running, and we were answering phone calls from families who were very scared. 6,000 families to be exact, who didn't know how they were going to deal with paying their rent. One like John, who was a music instructor in a school part-time, self-employed, and taught and played music at his church. He was unable to have income as a single father to support his 3 children, and he had never missed a rent payment in his life. And he called West End and said, I don't know what to do. And because the county exec and Anas Ben-Adi and folks like Federal Home Loan Bank of Pittsburgh, and we can't forget Kent and Sussex County, got together within a week and said, here's millions of dollars, let's start to make a difference. So not only were we the first to do it, we did it efficiently, we were up and running, and we did it in a thoughtful way. And I must say also that folks like United Way and Catholic Charities and First Aid Community Action and Lutheran Community Center, they're just a few of the 9 agencies who put staff on the phones and said, we're not going home during COVID. We're here to help. And that's what Delaware's about. We put our nose to the grindstone, we come up with solutions, and we work together, and we can pick up the phone and solve problems. And so to my colleagues, I thank you, but Delaware is very thankful because our government responds while other governments are still floundering to think about what they should do. And so thank you, Representative Johnson and Senator Lockman. Your support has been incredible. There's not quibbling across the aisle. You're coming together, and I wish other folks would do that. And just saying, how do we serve Delawareans, not how do we serve our party? So thank you so much for your leadership. We could teach a lot of folks a lot of lessons. Thank you, Governor, for allowing me to participate in this program. And most importantly, thank you for the citizens, because often they don't feel they have a voice. And today they feel like they not only have a voice, they have someone who listens. So thank you all for your help.
Thank you, Paul. And what you described for me is what we refer to as what I refer to fondly as the Delaware Way. And the Delaware Way for me is where people put their egos aside at the door. They work together, Democrats and Republicans and independents. They work together, public sector, private sector, nonprofit sector. And they do the work of the people, and they address the needs of those who need our assistance the most. And so it's like you, a leader on the nonprofit sector, who finds so many bridges between government and nonprofits and the private sector to make a difference for Delawareans. To me, that's the Delaware Way. We've got 2 relatively new leaders in our Delaware General Assembly who I'm going to ask to speak now, both of whom do their work in the way I consider the Delaware Way and are very good to work with on so many issues. And I'm going to start with the lower house and the chair of the Housing and Community Affairs Committee in the House of Representatives, Representative Kendra Johnson.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. As the chair of Housing and Community Affairs, today is a beautiful day. It is an amazing day. I am so very excited about the relaunching of these 2 programs because I know how they are going to impact individual family lives. So today is an amazing day. Governor, Anas, Matt, thank you all for your financial commitment to Delaware families. Thank you for that. Delaware families are going to be able to breathe just a little bit better because you put your money where your mouth is. You saw that there was a need to support families. And to that, I say thank you, thank you, thank you. I have to give a quick shout out to my colleague, Representative Paul Bombach. For many months, Representative Bombach, myself, and Representative Lockman had been meeting with stakeholders throughout the housing environment, talking about issues related to housing, understanding that COVID's impacts is going to continue on months from now and how it's going to impact families, especially those families who right now may not be working, who may have been laid off. I can tell you that 90% of the phone calls and the emails that I receive from constituents in the 5th District, they're about unemployment. They are concerned, but they're beyond concerned. Actually, they're scared. They're scared. They don't know how they're going to pay their rent, how they're going to pay their mortgage, how they're going to eat. And now, when I provide individuals information about how to follow up on their unemployment claim, I can also say this. Guess what? We have relaunched these 2 amazing programs that are going to help you and your families. So thank you all, gentlemen. I appreciate your leadership and your commitment to Delaware families. And to Senator Lockman, it's all you, you amazing woman.
Likewise. Thank you, Representative Johnson. I've also been really glad for those ongoing conversations that we had, you and I and Representative Baumbach with Director Bonatti and his team. So it's really exciting to be able to be here today for this huge announcement for Delaware and to be a part of that. I wanted to say, Governor Carney, thank you for your quick action has been spoken to. Many renters and homeowners in Delaware, we know, still at this moment have roofs over their heads because of the stay that you put on evictions. And as those moratoriums are lifted, we have yet even now to see the wave of evictions that we've seen elsewhere. But as Representative Johnson mentions, that fear has really been palpable among advocates and the community members that we represent that it's coming. So this is huge that we can tell them that help is on the way. And we know that as the pandemic has lingered, more and more families are struggling to hang on. And I see this among my neighbors in the 3rd District and the calls that I receive from my constituents. And there's so much uncertainty in so many ways right now in these times. And one of the most fundamental aspects of life that we can't take for granted is to have a stable place to live. So in times like these, we know that we have to do everything we can to ensure our neighbors whose lives have been shaken up by this pandemic are able to stay housed. And that's why this funding for the assistance programs, DHAP and DMAP, being announced today is so important for all of us. And I really don't think it's overstating it to say that this effort will even save lives. We know that through these programs, we're keeping Delaware families together. We're keeping Delaware children from becoming homeless, which is something that could in turn have placed them at greater risk of going to bed hungry, struggling in school and dropping out, greater risks of abuse and neglect. And this aid really allows us to step into that gap left by the disproportionate impact experienced in this pandemic by families. And we know this to be generally true, but there's also a deeply personal aspect of that I'd like to briefly highlight on my behalf and Representative Johnson. We know that the Delaware Office of Women's Advancement has also highlighted that women in general have been so strongly impacted by COVID. They're very much on the front lines during this pandemic and the types of work that they do, and are just seeing a lot of impacts of that. It's particularly true for women of color, with 82% of Black mothers, 58% of white mothers, and 56% of Hispanic mothers being the main breadwinner in their households. And so these are so many of the vulnerable families that we see grappling with both health risks from COVID, but also the economic consequences. And that they have a safe place to return to and stay safe in should not be a question. And that's something that we are addressing today. It was heavy on my mind early in the pandemic and working on that with my colleagues, but also working as co-chair for the Newcastle County CARES Act Task Force. Thank you, County Executive Meyer, to assist the most vulnerable. And it was an honor to do that and work with Marcus Henry and Carrie Casey, and to see the recent recommendations to see significant investments in the housing realm to actually be fulfilled so quickly is a real thrill. And we know households like those I described are at the greatest risk will be greatly helped by this, among all Delawareans finding themselves at a tough time right now. So in closing, I just want to reiterate that I'm really happy to stand with all of you today and be part of this swift and collaborative action, to express my gratitude to everyone who's been contributing to the work to get here and the execution of the programs to come, and to you, Governor, for stepping up, doing exactly what the people of Delaware should demand of our leaders at times like this. So thank you all, and thank you, Governor Carney.
Thank you very much, Senator Lockman, and to Representative Johnson. Thank you for your thoughtful words. This indeed is about Delaware families. It is about the single mom trying to raise her child, uncertain about the opening of schools. We're working really hard on that. It's about families across our state that are living with uncertainty and fear around COVID-19 pandemic. Our obligation as public servants is to address both their health needs as well as their economic and social needs as well. And this is an important part of that. It's about addressing the fear and anxiety and concern about being able to stay in your rental house or to be able to pay your mortgage or get to the other side. We will get to the other side. We're going to crush this virus. We're going to flatten that curve. We're going to get healthier. We're going to get our children back to school in front of teachers, getting the kind of instruction that they need and deserve. We're going to get people back to work. We're going to get through all this. The only way to do it is the way we're doing this particular program with the DMAP and DHAP programs, housing assistance and mortgage assistance programs, is by working together. And by working together, we can just about do anything, including beat COVID-19 and make sure the people, the most vulnerable families among us, have the assistance that they need. So thank you to all of you for your work on this and for your continued focus on the things we need to do during this pandemic. And we look forward to getting to the other side.